I think it's probably fair to say that quite high on the wish list of most golfers would be more distance, and how you achieve that can often be closely related to how fast you swing. But actually, it's the ability to transfer your club head speed into the ball that really matters. The quality and the efficiency of that transfer comes down to where you strike the ball on the club face. And today I'll show you how different strike locations on the club face dramatically affect your distance. In fact, depending on your club head speed, you could be leaving 50, 60, even 70 yards on the table just because of poor ball striking. The metric that most of these launch monitors use in terms of measuring this efficiency is either a metric that's called smash factor, or in some of these machines they call it efficiency. It's the calculation of the ball speed divided by the club speed. And to keep the maths nice and simple, if you had 150 miles an hour of ball speed and 100 mile an hour of club speed, that would produce a smash factor of 1.5. And 1.5 would be considered extremely efficient. That would be about the top end of the metric. So the better the quality of the ball striking, the higher the smash factor. And as I hit some more balls here, using different parts of the club face, intentionally striking towards the toe and towards the heel, you'll see how that smash factor or that efficiency changes even with the same club head speed. My typical driver shape looks somewhat like that. It's like push, I'll draw it back towards the target, and sometimes I'll draw it too much and it will finish to the left. My club head speed hovers around 104, 106, an average of sort of 105 in terms of my on-course club speed. So we'll be looking at that today. That last ball there, I felt like I struck it very close to the center, and the feeling and the feedback I got was very solid. You'll see that on the camera here, that you'll see the strike of the golf ball was very close to the center of the face. And that's the way that we can start to maximize the efficiency, the transfer of that 106 miles per hour of club head speed into the ball. We managed to get 156 miles of ball speed, which is pretty decent transfer, and a smash factor or an efficiency of 1.48. That's a solid one. So if I can keep that same club speed hovering around the 105 mark, but now intentionally strike the ball off center, let's see what that does to the ball speed and ultimately to the distance. That last one flew 258 through the air, 278 total. So 258 yards of carry, 278 yards total. I'd say that's pretty standard for my driver. Now if I go ahead and try and keep the same swing speed, so similar swing, I'm going to hit this one out of the toe and we'll see what happens. Very strong toe strike, and the gear effect that you get off the face will induce much more curve that you'll see on the screen there. I managed to get the club speed at 103, so I dropped slightly. The distance there dropped significantly. The carry was only 221 yards. That's nearly 40 yards difference in terms of carry from almost the same swing speed. Because of the off-center hit, I lost a tremendous amount of the energy transfer. The smash factor there dropped to 1.41. So even though I had a similar amount of club head speed, my ball speed dropped from 156 to 145. That's a huge drop. And that shot on the golf course could be the difference between carrying the hazard and getting the ball over the bunker or over the water, or being in it. And this time I'll do one where I strike the heel intentionally, and we'll see what happens to the distance of the drive. That was so far off the heel I almost missed it. You'll see that on the screen on the camera. The ball speed dropped tremendously there. The distance and carry was only 183 yards. That's a massive drop from the original swing. The club speed did drop quite a lot as well, 98 miles per hour, so I wasn't able to keep my swing speed quite where I needed to. But the smash factor on that dropped to 1.38. That's incredibly inefficient. The ball speed's nearly 20 miles per hour lower than that original swing. So that illustrates the importance of striking on the center of the club face. For many of you watching, this is the lowest hanging fruit, because let's be realistic. How much club speed could you really add to your golf swing? Maybe 5 miles per hour if you tried and worked very hard at it. But it's difficult to make a significant change to the speed in which you swing. However, hitting the center of the club face could be the low-hanging fruit that you need to add this 20, 30, maybe 50 yards back to your driver. I wanted to hit one there where I swung closer to my normal speed, but still hit the heel, which I've managed to do. The carry there still dropped from its optimal number. It's 227. The smash factor still down at 1.43. Ball speed down, but the club speed that time I managed to maintain at 103. So that was a slightly sort of more accurate version of keeping the club head speed the same, but seeing the effect of the heel strike. That should show you how important centered contact is. Now let's talk about ways in which you can improve it. I'm about to share with you 3 ways in which you can improve the quality and the location of the strike on the club face. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll also share with you 3 ways in which you can increase your club head speed. If you're enjoying the video to this point, please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I've got a head cover in my hand. I've actually got a really cool head cover. I should put this a bit closer to the camera. They're like my Live Golf head cover, which I'm very proud of, the Singapore Sling. This head cover is going to serve a purpose whereby if you have a strong tendency in terms of strike on the club face, you can place an obstacle on the ground to help you move that strike to a different point on the club face. So if I use this example of somebody who hits consistently towards the heel of the club, striking closer to the shaft here than to the center, I could take a head cover or similar soft object and place it down on the ground just outside of the golf ball, like so. So I'm placing this head cover and this obstacle in a very specific place in a way where I set up with the club, the head cover is placed 1 to 2 centimeters away from the edge of the golf club. That's creating an obstacle there for me to have to move this club head and control the club head travel back to the ball where I hit towards the center, or maybe even start to strike slightly towards the toe. If you're a heel striker, if you struggle with hitting the heel more often than the center, then placing an obstacle outside the ball like this could really help you. That made such a difference to me there that I hit very strongly towards the toe. But again, if that's your problem, your issue is hitting towards the heel, practicing and hitting closer to the toe could be a good thing for you. You can move this head cover around depending on your problem. If you're someone who struggles with the toe strike more so than the heel strike, you could move this head cover and bring it onto the inside of the golf ball here. Now, in order for me to miss the head cover, I need to keep the club head and the sweet spot a little bit further from me, and this could help if you're someone who suffers with a consistent toe strike pattern. Hit that one pretty solid. It's a nice straight ball. Felt slightly different. I had to change my swing a little bit there from a norm just to avoid the head cover. So it's a good exercise. It's a very simple exercise, but it's a very beneficial one if you're trying to improve the location of strike with your driver. The second thing you can do to improve strike location on your club face is to try and strike different parts of the club face intentionally. This suggestion, when I give it to players, is often met with some resistance. They don't understand why you'd want to practice hitting the heel or even the toe on purpose. But if you think about it, controlling where this club head is in space throughout the entirety of the swing is really the skill that more experienced and established players learn. So if you can stand and set up to the golf ball, swing and intentionally strike towards the toe or the heel on purpose, you're really learning to move this club head around in space. And so if you get out on the golf course and you find you're hitting towards the heel on any given day, you've got the ability and the skill to start moving that strike around. Give it a try. Don't dismiss it until you've tried it. Set up to the ball in the middle of the club face and then try to intentionally swing down, strike towards the toe, strike towards the heel, or try to find the center. And the final thing you can do to improve the location of the strike on your club face is to consider getting a driver fitting. The number one thing I see in golfers is they're using drivers that are too long for them. Manufacturers over the recent years have kept making drivers longer and longer and longer in the quest for more distance to try and sell you more yards. And while the truth is the longer the shaft is the more potential power you have, because you can swing a longer club faster than you can a shorter one. The problem is the club gets so long that the very topic we're discussing today is something that a golfer no longer can do. They can't hit the center of the club face.
Didn't you go to a shorter driver?
Yeah, so I went to a shorter shaft at the start of last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little more control. I probably hit it out of the middle of the face a little bit more as well.
And more smash factor went up, but you still hit the ball same distance with a shorter driver, with more control.
Yeah, more control. Yeah.
So they've got this driver that's too long for them, swinging around in space and coming down and mishitting it consistently, tremendously dropping the ball speed. So having a longer driver, just because it means you could swing faster, as I've already said today, doesn't mean you're going to hit it further. I have seen dramatic results, positive results, by golfers cutting 1 to 2 inches off of their driver, reducing the length of the shaft so that the centered contact is more likely, more predictable. Centered contact more consistently equals better smash factor, faster ball speed, and ultimately more distance. And this wouldn't be much of a driver distance video if we didn't touch on the subject of club head speed and how you could increase it. I know this is a subject very close to many of your hearts, and lots of comments I get asking on how to increase your club head speed. So here are 3 ideas that you can do to start swinging this club that little bit faster. The first idea might seem so obvious, but so few people really try it. You must try to swing faster. I see people asking me how to swing faster, and the first response is, well, have you tried? What would it feel like for you to take your regular swing, move this club around you, and actually try to move it quicker, move it faster? How fast could you swing if you really tried to? And there's a trade-off here sometimes between swinging faster and losing control. And as we know from previous videos where we discussed the 3 fundamentals, distance is that second fundamental, but it needs to be taken into consideration with controlling the shot direction. Now, when you train and when you try to swing faster on the driving range or when you're practicing in your sim, you can take heed of just more speed at this point without quite so much consideration for the direction, just for a few balls. How fast could you swing this club if you really tried? I took some of my own advice there. I felt like I swung faster. I actually managed to also hit pretty close to the center of the club face and hit that nice little push draw. My club speed there went to 108, 108 miles per hour. It had averaged 103 up to that point. So I could add 5 miles per hour of club head speed just through trying to swing faster. However, that felt a little uncontrolled for me. I'd need to train that to a point where I'm comfortable with it, maybe to take it to the course. But I know it's in the locker. I can try to swing faster and I can add speed. If you want to swing faster, start by trying to. The second thing you can be doing to try and increase your club speed is to make sure that when you set up to the ball, you are moving your feet and waggling the club and getting some movement in your body before you pull the trigger. It's been proven and shown that this dynamic foot movement, club waggle, with some briskness to it, helps to increase club head speed, as opposed to starting from a very still, static setup. It's much harder to create the speed that you want through your muscles if you start from a very static position. So begin by just bouncing backwards and forwards on your feet. Just use the waggle of the club to create some momentum. Feel like this is brisk and happening quickly. That will start to transfer into the overall tempo and speed of your swing. It's even been proven that the faster your backswing is, the faster your downswing can be as well. And that flies in the face of what a lot of you may believe and may have experienced, in the sense that you think this has to be very slow and rhythmical. Now, of course, there's a trade-off once again here in terms of tempo and finding something that works for you. But it's true that if you swing faster on the way back, the club's going to come down faster towards the ball. So the second tip in terms of increasing club head speed, let's get some briskness, some dynamic movement here at setup. The club's moving, my feet are moving, and when I pull the trigger, I'm going to move this club in the backswing a little bit faster than normal. I tried to keep the speed up there. I lost the strike. And that can happen when you start to swing faster than you're normally comfortable with. Bit of a heel strike, turned that into a slight cut that I wouldn't typically like to see, but my speed there was 109. So I went from 108, now 109. I am adding speed to my swing. It's just right now it feels it comes at the expense of the control. So first thing you're going to do if you want to increase your club head speed, try to swing faster. Second thing, move briskly. Let's not stand still at the ball. Let's keep the waggle and the dynamic movement and motion of your body in play. The third thing is going to be how you use your hands from the top of the backswing. The point in the swing where the hands are moving the fastest is this top portion of the swing between the start of your downswing and where the hands get more or less parallel to the ground. The peak hand path, speed, where the hands are moving at their fastest, is in this area right here where I'm demonstrating right now. So one of the best things you can do to maximize that feeling of peak hand path speed would be to get to the top and just try to pull your hands down towards the back of the mat here as quickly and as violently as possible. Pull the club down, pull the club down. There's some great video of the top players demonstrating this. Long drive champions certainly utilize this feeling. There's a great video of Bryson DeChambeau demonstrating on the driving range how he has this feeling of the pull down of his arms.
So what are you doing? What are you firing in your body physically to make that happen? Obviously you've done all this work, but where does it come from? Here.
It comes from the lats. So a lot, you can see when I'm pulling down, so I'm pulling the club as hard down as I possibly can. So I pull up and I pull down. So it's a lot of doing the same thing, but just feeling like I pull it harder. It's like I pull it harder, yeah. So I move it faster back and I pull it down harder.
He gets to the top, keeps his chest back towards the camera like I am, and pulls his arms down fast. This movement of pulling the arms and the hands down and getting the peak hand speed in this top part here can mean that by the time you reach the ball, you've been able to increase the potential speed of the club head. So the final drill to increase your club speed, get to the top, keep your chest facing back towards the camera, shoulder turn feels like it stays closed, and fire the arms and the hands down towards the back of the mat here that I'm standing on. Okay, I'm using the hands to isolate that speed coming down. When I step into the ball, I'm going to try and use that same sensation. I'm going to try to get to the top nice and quickly, and then I'm really going to emphasize that the early part of my downswing is going to start with a conscious pulling of the hands. Felt like the speed was okay. It was very much a toe strike. Push, draw. Not going to be quite as good in terms of smash factor. I nearly got all the way out there to 300 yards though. Smash factor dropped, club speed 107. So I managed to keep my club head speed at 4-5 miles per hour faster than my typical average club head speed. But those last two shots, I certainly felt like I had a bit less control. So when you're trying to add speed to your swing, you may feel like you lose a little bit of control. I'd encourage you to play around with adding speed, going faster at the expense of a little bit of control for a few swings, and then by the end of your practice session, maybe going back to something that feels more playable, that you take to the course. You can experiment between the two. In fact, you have to. If you really want to increase your speed, you have to train swinging faster. If you can add 4 or 5 miles per hour on the driving range, you might be able to transfer 2 or 3 miles per hour of that onto the golf course. So it's a constant progression that you're working through of swinging as fast as you can on the range and seeing some of that extra speed transfer to the course. So there's some very practical advice that you can take to the driving range and use, whether that's in terms of trying to improve the efficiency of your strike and increase the ball speed with your current club head speed, or if you're going to try and actually increase your club head speed. And if you do that while maintaining centered strike, you're certainly going to see an increase in your distance. Thanks for sticking around today. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd love to hear your comments on what you've used to help you increase ball speed, club speed, and overall distance. If you've used anything in today's video and you've had success with it, let me and the other viewers know. I'd love to see those comments. And if you've used something else, if you've found another tool or another way to increase your speed and add distance to your drives, certainly I would, and I'm sure others would love to hear from you. Another technique that the best players utilize in order to maximize their distance is to use the potential angular momentum that's built into this club from being on a tilt, on an angle if you like. I made this video right here about Rory McIlroy's secret driver move. If you want to understand how to move your hands and club throughout the entire swing to add that distance into your drives, then you should check out this video right now.